Hi, my name is Jason Chancellor, and today I'm going to show you the Jdeation Designer. The purpose of this project is to allow the DIY Christmas light community to be able to design custom enclosures and mounting plates by just simply dragging and dropping components. Components being power supplies, fans, controllers, drag and drop components onto a mounting plate, and then having that mounting plate custom cut either via a laser cutter or a CNC machine. So today we're going to design my first design. It's called a DIY compact case. It's a design I came up with for my own show this year and been using it this year, and actually worked out really well. Just to kind of show you what it is, let me come over here real quick. Let me start at the beginning. Well, this is essentially the design here. It is it's a controller that fits inside a 5-inch square PVC pipe. You can see it standing here. I've got it next to one of my CG 1500s. But this is the overall design here. It's an acrylic enclosure that slides into a 5-inch PVC square pipe. It's got a PVC pipe that works on the bottom so it can stand up. This is it without all the PVC. You can see that it's got a lower bottom shelf where the power supply slides. It's got an adjustable top shelf, so if I'm using the compact power supplies. If you're not using compact power supply, you can raise this top shelf up, and then all your components go on the top here. This is the bottom view. You can see our 40mm fan here, some clamps that come out the bottom. Top view in my design here, I've got a power distribution board and a little pixel pop controller here. Again, another top design. You can see in this design we've got a little cutout to make it kind of easy to get down to the screw holes on the power supply. This is what the final product looks like. It's simply a laser cut acrylic in this case. We'll come back to that in a second. And then here's another view. I've got it in my tree. I used several of these in my trees this year. Okay, so that's what we're going to be building. Let me come back over here to the Jdeation Designer. This is kind of the main entry page. From here you can either copy an existing design that someone has put out here. In this case there's a couple of designs I've laid out here for the DIY compact case. We've also got some designs for just straight CG 1500 regular mounting plates, or you can create a design from scratch, and that's what we're going to be doing today. One thing that I think is important to mention is if you want to be able to save your designs, which of course you would be, it's really important to save your design first, and to log in so you can save your design before you start building. You can actually save designs without logging in, but if you log in, then you can come up here to My Designs and you can see all the designs that you've created. You can give them little descriptions, you can make them public or private or things like that. Okay, well, let's start designing. Again, I think we're going to start today with a completely blank design. I don't think that's what you would typically do. I think you probably always start with somebody else's design, because here I've already got my power supply and fan and things like that laid out. But let's just create a blank design for the purposes of this demo. This is essentially your canvas here. Over here is your controls that affect the canvas. We've got zoom here on the left. Let's go ahead and zoom out so we can see the entire canvas here. Just walking through this. This here is our top shelf in the design. This is the bottom shelf in the design. This is the bottom plate. This is the top plate, and these are the side plates. In this design, you don't really need to change anything on the side plates or the top plate. Really just the bottom plate, bottom shelf, top shelf. So let's go ahead and start adding some components to this. So first, I'm in Texas, so we need fans. So let me go up here, and I'm going to add a fan, a 40mm fan hole to my design. So I'm going to drag this over to here on the bottom plate. One thing to mention, only the black lines in our designer are actually cut lines. Everything else is there. All the other colors except for black are there just to help arrange components. So in this example, with this 40mm fan I just dropped, all this is going to do is it's going to create a circle in the acrylic for the fan, and then 4 little circles for the fan hole. Let me just hop over here. I'll show you. I think I've got a picture of that. Yeah, so if you kind of look here, what we just did is we created, it's just going to create a circle with 4 little screw holes around it. So that's the concept. Black is the only thing that gets cut. Everything else is just to help you align things. All right, so we've got our fan. I'm going to add some clamp holes. So this is going to be, I think, where my, for the top shelf, the pigtails to come out. The bottom, this one here, will be for the power supply plug to come out. You could all, of course, do this probably in one clamp, but I want to do it in 2. So on our bottom shelf is where the power supply goes. So I've got, in the designer right now, I've got my Meanwell LRS 350. I think all these power supplies use standard holes. So I've dropped this on here, and I need to rotate it around. You can actually use the arrow keys on your keyboard to kind of do some precision 1mm moves of these designs. So we've got that kind of placed properly. So I think that's our bottom shelf is now set up. Let's start working on the top shelf here. I'm going to have first a power distribution board. Let me slide this over to where I want it. I think right about there. Now you'll notice on these components, not all the details are here, but what we try to show is anything that's critical to aligning the components. So any power, kind of any places where you're going to be hooking up wires to the component. So in this case, this is where the main power comes in here, and this is where the power comes out. So we try to show all those things, obviously, and then the shape, and then the screw. If you zoom in on this, again, you'll see that the only thing that, remember, again, that's going to actually be cut is these little black circles here. So those black circles are very precise. That's exactly what's going to be cut into the acrylic. Everything else is just to help you use the designer. So we've got that there. Let me go ahead and add my controller. We've got, right now we have in the designer are the actual components that I use in my show. I use Sand Device and I use these ES Pixel Pops. So let's add one of these. I'm going to put it right there. I want to rotate it around a little bit. And we've got that. The next thing I'm going to show you is, see these little squares here? These are zip tie tie-down holes. So you essentially put a zip tie through one side of the square and you put it through the other, and you can get all your cables nice and tight. You can also add those via components. Come up here, miscellaneous. And this is a zip tie, so I'm going to zoom into this a little bit. So you see what's going to be cut is just these 2 little squares, and then I'm showing with the red kind of where the zip tie would go. So in my design, I'm going to have a pigtail that comes, right through there. So I want a zip tie to kind of secure that really well. Let me move that around a little bit. Let's add a few more of those. I'm missing an image here. I have to figure out what's going on there. I'm going to add one of those right here. And move this down a little bit. I'm not sure it's a little too close. Then let's add another one. Over here, rotate it. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. So now we're going to have power that comes off of our distribution board, goes through this tie wrap, and then out the front. For my pigtails, probably have some power that comes through here as well, and then goes over to my ES Pixel Pop. So I think we've got things pretty well aligned there. One last thing I want to do is, remember, this is the bottom shelf and this is the top shelf. Just for airflow purposes, I probably want to create a hole. You can kind of see it back over here. Let me see if I can find. Yeah, you can kind of see it here. Maybe that's a better picture. You can kind of see it there too. But see how I've got an airflow hole cut in the top shelf. That's totally up to you. I'm going to add one. It's called a variable hole. So I've added that. Actually, I'm going to delete that because it kind of moved on me a little bit. And try that again. Variable hole. So here it is here. I'm going to make it obviously a lot bigger. I'm going to come down over here and just try to get it exactly the same size. One of the features I want to add in the designer is the ability to align components and do more construction lines to just help with lining things up. We're not there yet, so right now you just got to kind of eyeball that. Looks about right. So let me zoom out. So that's our design that we've created here. I'm going to save my design, and since I'm logged in, it's telling me that it's already been saved in my design library. If you hadn't logged in, it would actually just show you a link that you can come back to get back to your design, but then you just have to keep track of a whole bunch of links. Okay, one thing, once you've created a design, you can always come in here and download the design in the 4 major formats, PNG, SVG, EPS, DXF. These are the 4 formats that you typically use when you are getting something CNC or laser cut. So you can just download your design here, or you can use our fabrication services. I've got access to a laser cutter, so I'll laser cut you one of these. You know, if there's anybody else that has a laser cutter that wants to kind of be part of this, just reach out to me. A CNC machine too. There'd probably be a little bit of work to convert a DXF into a CNC design, but certainly it could be done. So just reach out to me and we can talk about getting you added into the designer as a vendor. So that is essentially the Jdeation designer. Just a reminder, so this is what we just designed, and after it is laser cut, this is what will come out the other end. You can see this is the bottom shelf we designed. You can see the 4 screw holes that we created. This is the top shelf. Remember those zip tie holes? Those are all the zip tie holes right there. Here's the holes for our power distribution board. Here's the bottom plate. We've got our fan. We've got our holes that are there for the pigtails to come out in the clamps. And so it's a millimeter perfect design that makes it really easy to do some assembly. I'm going to do another video here shortly that shows how you assemble one of these things, because it's there's definitely an order to it, and maybe show off the design a little bit better. But if all of the components are managed via our GitHub, so let me come over here and show you our Jdeation GitHub. This is our GitHub, so if you want to add a component, say a new controller or a distribution, you just come over here at GitHub. It tells you exactly what you need to do to create that component, and then you simply add that to our GitHub location, and then when we do our next build of the solution, it will get included into the product, and then you can add it into your design. So anyways, that's the Jdeation designer. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions, and thank you very much.